A decade before his death, actor Dirk Bogarde torched all the records of his life, including World War II journals, letters, papers, everything. He might have been the most private actor to ever live, but no matter how hard he tried, Bogarde couldn't erase every scandalous secret. Dirk Bogarde played countless roles on and off screen, but he kept just as many secrets, including one with the power to destroy his life. Dirk Bogarde was a World War II hero, a heartthrob, a controversy, an advocate for unpopular causes, a writer, and so much more. Above all, the Brit was a mystery. In 1921, Bogarde was born into an upper-middle-class but unhappy family. His parents even once sent him away to live with his strict aunt and uncle, but nothing could squash the acting bug. Bogarde took whatever backstage and uncredited roles he could get his hands on. He once declared, "I knew that nothing would deflect me from my path as an actor, and nothing did." When World War II broke out, Bogarde was 18, a civilian, and scraping by at one of the few London theaters still open. This couldn't last. The worse the conflict got, the more quickly his time as a civilian ran out, but not before he ran into Anthony Forwood. Though the older British actor offered to represent him after World War II, they eventually fell out of touch. However, their story was destined to be one for the ages. But more on that later. It was time. Bogarde's country needed him more than the stage did. The 22-year-old felt many things about joining the army, but optimism wasn't one of them. His work as an intelligence officer took him all over Europe and Asia. This was a non-combat role, so he didn't directly take lives, pull triggers, or detonate explosives. But Bogarde had to make equally painful decisions. By April 1945, World War II in Europe was winding down, but Bogarde's nightmare was just getting started. Work brought him near the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Bogarde didn't know much about these camps. He only hoped to find a pair of nice German boots to wear. We don't know if Bogarde got his boots, but we do know that he got a lifetime supply of trauma. Shoes were the last thing on Bogarde's mind the moment he walked into the camp. He remembers how the gates were open, and then I realized that I was looking at Dante's Inferno. All around us were mountains of dead people. Bogarde claimed he was one of the first people to liberate this camp. He spent the rest of his life making sense of this one horrific day. The old Bogarde perished in World War II. The new one came home with 3 massive pieces of baggage. The first was survivor's guilt. Bogarde survived while millions didn't. The second piece was Bergen-Belsen. Until Bogarde stepped foot into that camp, he didn't know such depravity and suffering were possible. Third, Bogarde had to face the fallout of his choices. He made a spine-chilling realization about this. Some chapters of Bogarde's World War II experience were like a horror movie come to life. He returned to the villages, or what was left of them, destroyed on his recommendations. Bogarde later learned that the ruins he sat beside had buried a convent of children and nuns who had fled class during bombings. Unfortunately, though they thought they were safe, nearby buildings ultimately collapsed onto them. Bogarde went back to his old life, but he was a different man. After his service, movies lured him into the next chapter of his life. He changed his name from Derek to Dirk. Bogarde hustled in minor roles until he hit the jackpot, his big break. The 27-year-old waited his entire life and survived an entire war for this moment. Some found the rank organization and Bogarde's contract surprising. Turns out, most of the studio stars were conventionally attractive and fell into archetypes. They were easy to digest. Meanwhile, Bogarde had dark looks, a high-pitched voice, an ordinary physique, and a mystifying charm. But he had talent, and then some. Once again, Bogarde's life was about to change. 1954's Doctor in the House wasn't supposed to be successful. Audiences were allergic to movies about hospitals. Instead, the film was a hit and made Bogarde a household name. But his newfound fame had many dark sides. The dust from World War II barely settled before Bogarde had to cope with a different type of crazy. It was too much too soon, Bogarde confessed. First, there was the war, and then the peace to cope with. And then, suddenly, I was a film star. It happened all too soon. But just like what Bogarde did in World War II, he couldn't take it back. Bogarde became irresistible to box offices and armies of girls. He wasn't just a movie star, he was a heartthrob. The media manufactured his dreamy, unmarried, and available image, hook, line, and sinker. Bogarde admitted, "I had to go along with it. I was selling the product, and the product was me." This led to unacceptable encounters with fans. Bogarde's fans loved him, but some had insane ways of showing it. One day, a Rolls Royce pulled up to Bogarde's house during a party, and a beautiful woman stepped out. But she wasn't one of his friends. The woman made a shocking announcement, claiming that he was the father of her child. She lost her mind when he ignored her. But she wasn't his first or last baby mama drama. These fans had no idea that this wasn't possible and that Bogarde was actually hiding a huge secret. Bogarde was gay during a time and in a country that outlawed it. Bogarde knew what would happen to him if the wrong people found out. These policies destroyed the lives of countless men. His country ostracized gay men and locked them up. Even rumors had the power to tank an acting career. Bogarde had everything to lose and everything to hide. While many closeted actors entered lavender marriages to shut down gay rumors, Bogarde could never bring himself to do it. Coincidentally, Bogarde and Anthony Forwood reconnected after World War II and towards the end of his marriage. On the outside, Bogarde was macho and straight. He made public appearances with women. But behind closed doors, Bogarde wasn't just gay, he was in love. Everyone knew that Forwood was Bogarde's friend, manager, and business partner. And they were roommates. But many fewer people knew that Forwood was Bogarde's everything. He kept everyone, even his friends and family, at a distance. Perhaps Bogarde was struggling with the memories of World War II or the constant battle to hide his true identity. However, he didn't distance himself from Forwood. Bogarde's movies had nothing on his real love story. He tried to keep it a secret, but some people still found out. It became an open secret in his social circle and industry. He never told them, but they noticed. People couldn't help but witness how perfect they were together. One friend even revealed, "I never heard an argument between them." But tragedy was coming for these soulmates. In the meantime, Bogarde lived his best life on and off screen. Dirk and Forwood enjoyed domestic bliss on their country estates. They had their epic love, a zoo's worth of pets, exquisite furniture, and luxury cars. With rank, Bogarde was an A-lister who churned out a few unchallenging but profitable movies every year. But his next movie shocked everyone. At 40 years old, Bogarde went through his biggest breakup. He ended a relationship even older and more formative than he and Forwood. I'm talking, of course, about the Rank organization. There were only so many boring and box office bait movies Bogarde could make. He was too ambitious and too talented to be trapped. Bogarde yearned for a challenge, and boy did he find one. Victim was a film in crisis. Many actors already fled from the lead role like it was radioactive. Turns out, it kind of was. The movie is about a blackmail ring terrorizing gay men. The main character is a lawyer, successful, married, and closeted, who helps them. Starring in Victim was a risk, even if the actor wasn't gay. Enter Bogarde. Victim was an offer Bogarde couldn't refuse. Perhaps it was an offer that he should have refused. The movie was taboo, destined for controversy, and could expose his deepest secrets. Bogarde might have been looking for challenging roles, but this one could have been life-ruining. However, the role called out to Bogarde, and he chased after it. The reception was disappointing, but not surprising. A representative for the British Board of Film Censors berated the film for showing shocking, distasteful, and disgusting content. They gave Victim an adult-only rating despite the lack of adult content. The American Motion Picture Production Code refused to approve it at all. But Victim still came out in 1961, and even more importantly, it still made history. Victim wasn't just a gay film, it was the gay film. It was the first British movie to explicitly name homosexuality. Not just that, Victim portrayed the experiences of the community with compassion. The film, and Bogarde in particular, received rave reviews. One critic declared, "Dirk Bogarde has a role that not only shows what a brilliant actor he is, but what a courageous one he is too." They weren't wrong. Victim didn't just make film history, it made a difference. It helped to increase the number of Brits supporting reform from 48% to 63%. In 1967, being gay was decriminalized. Lord Arran led the effort to make this happen. The politician sent Bogarde a heartfelt letter to thank him for his movie and his bravery. Bogarde wanted to reinvent himself as an actor, so he did. But Bogarde had no way of knowing this. He just wanted to make cool movies after escaping Rank's Gilded Age. Victim turned out to be the wisest decision I ever made in my cinematic life. It is extraordinary to believe that this modest film could ever have been considered courageous, daring, or dangerous to make. It was, in its time, all three. In his late 50s, Bogarde decided it was time for another life change. He declared, "I am too old, too rich, and far too distinguished. I really felt that I had done all I wanted to do for the cinema." He retired semi-permanently from acting. While some roles lured him out once in a while, Bogarde focused on writing, but he left some fans wondering what could have been. 6 novels, 10 memoirs, and countless articles made Bogarde a respected writer, but some couldn't help feeling dissatisfied. It wasn't how Bogarde wrote, it was what he wrote about. Bogarde wrote so much, yet shared so little. Some critics didn't hold back. "You are very good indeed at saying an interesting book fall without in fact saying anything really personal at all." Others went even further and accused Bogarde of not being his true self. Bogarde didn't take it well, and announced, "I'm not a liar. I've never cheated an audience in my life." Bogarde also insisted he shared more than enough. "If you've got your wits about you, you will know who I am." He had a lifetime of art to back him up. Bogarde already knew the pain of grief, but nothing like this. He and Forward both battled health issues as they aged, but his lover got the worst of it. Bogarde could only watch as Parkinson's and cancer transformed his partner of 50 years into a, quote, paralyzed, speechless creature. Bogarde promised to help his partner if cancer was too painful and too terminal. They agreed there were worse things than dying. In 1988, Forward fell into a coma and never woke up. Bogarde didn't need to fulfill his promise, but he did need to remake his life. But it wasn't by his choice this time. He confessed, "Now I must try to begin to live again. And alone. The house is very empty without him, and my life also." The suffering Bogarde witnessed in World War II and the grief he experienced in watching his life partner waste away convinced him to champion euthanasia. Bogarde wondered if, or when, he had to make the call for himself. Then, in 1996, he underwent heart surgery that may have done more harm than good. They'd barely wheeled the 75-year-old out of surgery when he had a stroke. Bogarde's doctor was convinced that he was a goner, but he somehow woke up. However, something was seriously wrong. Many things, actually. The stroke paralyzed his left side, impaired his speech, and weakened his body. Bogarde cherished his independence, but he couldn't take care of himself now. Bogarde informed his specialist, "I want euthanasia." But that wasn't the end of Bogarde's story. Turns out, he wasn't ready to let go. And his loved ones weren't either. His life, however, would be a lot different. Bogarde accepted that he needed help, but not just anyone would do. Enter Sheila MacLaine. She was his caretaker and his closest relationship since Forward. It also lasted until the end. Everyone deserves a Sheila in their life. She made sure Bogarde spent his final years doing what he loved the most. He read, he wrote, and saw loved ones. When he passed at 78 from a heart attack, he had reached some sense of peace. Bogarde's loved ones took it from there. They went on a mission to spread his ashes at the French villa Bogarde and Forward had once shared. When Bogarde passed, many of these memories and truths went with him. Bogarde's experiences in World War II shaped him, but some were skeptical that Bogarde was really one of the first liberators at the camp. They thought it was possible that he, like many other well-meaning officers, read about the atrocities and convinced themselves they were there. After researching for years, Bogarde's biographer John Coldstream concluded that he at least stepped foot into Bergen-Belsen. As for everything else, only Bogarde knows, but we know his pain was real. The world became more open-minded, but Bogarde didn't become any more open. In 1986, he did the unthinkable and torched all the records of his life. World War II journals, letters, papers, everything. Bogarde even shredded all of Forward's documents for good measure. Bogarde ensured their secrets would leave the earth when they did. To him, the truth lay in his art. It always did. The world doesn't need to know the rest. A list of every single award, positive review, box office dollar, or honorary degree earned by Dirk Bogarde would be impressive, but inaccurate. It wouldn't capture the essence of a true actor like him. Someone who challenged himself, and challenged cinema. He helped countless people along the way. In World War II, he helped his country and the Allies. In Doctor in the House, he helped kids get over the fear of hospitals. In Victim, he helped countless men live their truth. There are many actors, but there will only be one Dirk Bogarde. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next time.